For over a decade, tucked away in a series of top-secret, unmarked industrial buildings in Cupertino, California, a ghost was being built. It was known internally as Project Titan. It employed over 2,000 of the world's most elite automotive engineers, artificial intelligence experts, and industrial designers. Apple pulled geniuses away from Porsche, Tesla, and Aston Martin, handing out signing bonuses that shook the entire automotive world. Their goal? To completely erase the traditional car and replace it with a radical, self-driving living room on wheels. But in early 2024, after spending a staggering $10 billion of corporate cash, Apple's leadership did something unthinkable. They ordered the entire project to be permanently dismantled, the prototypes hidden away, and the data buried. $10 billion completely gone, leaving behind a car that doesn't exist. This is the inside story of Apple's most expensive failure, and the hidden reason why the world's richest tech company walked away from the electric vehicle gold rush. To understand why Apple ever wanted to build a car, we have to look at the massive problem facing the company after the launch of the iPhone. By 2014, the iPhone had become the most profitable consumer product in human history. It single-handedly turned Apple into a multi-trillion-dollar titan. But the smartphone market was maturing. Apple's leadership knew that every tech empire faces a mathematical reality. Eventually, you run out of new humans to buy smartphones. To maintain their explosive growth, they needed a brand new playground. They looked at where people spent their time when they weren't looking at their phones. The answer was glaringly obvious: the automobile. The average commuter spends hundreds of hours a year staring through a windshield. To Apple, a car wasn't a mechanical device with pistons and axles. It was simply a massive, untapped mobile device. If they could capture the passenger economy through an autonomous vehicle, they could sell software, subscriptions, services, and entertainment during hours when people were previously forced to just pay attention to the road. In 2014, Apple CEO Tim Cook gave Project Titan the green light. The original mission statement was dangerously ambitious. Apple would not build a competitor to Tesla. They would leapfrog Tesla entirely, bypassing driver assist features to create a Level 5 autonomous vehicle. A car with no steering wheel, no gas pedals, and a revolutionary interior where passengers sat facing each other. It was supposed to be the ultimate expression of Apple design. But the dream began to fracture almost immediately. Building a smartphone is incredibly different from building a 4,000-pound kinetic machine that travels at 70 miles per hour. The first major hurdle was a massive ideological civil war within Apple's executive walls. One faction, led by design legend Jony Ive, wanted a completely autonomous capsule. They argued that adding a steering wheel compromised the pure vision of an Apple product. Another faction, led by veteran hardware engineers, argued that technology wasn't anywhere near ready for a driverless car, and that omitting manual controls was a fatal safety risk. Because of this constant identity crisis, leadership changed hands 4 separate times. Every time a new boss took over Project Titan, the strategy flipped. One year they were building a physical car. The next year they were abandoning hardware to focus purely on autonomous software to sell to other car makers. Then, they flipped back to building their own vehicle. Meanwhile, the technical reality of full autonomy was proving to be a nightmare. AI could easily handle 99% of normal driving conditions. But that final 1%, the edge cases like a plastic bag blowing across a highway, unexpected construction zones, or a police officer giving hand signals, required human-level reasoning. Apple's software was brilliant, but it wasn't magic. Test vehicles routinely struggled during track testing, forcing backup drivers to take over to avoid catastrophic collisions. $10 billion was evaporating into code that couldn't reliably figure out a left turn in heavy traffic. While engineers fought over code, Apple's financial teams were running the math, and the numbers were horrifying. Apple is a company built on jaw-dropping profit margins. When you buy an iPhone, nearly half of that money is pure profit for Apple. The automotive industry, however, is a brutal, low-margin meat grinder. Even luxury car manufacturers struggle to clear a 10% profit margin due to the astronomical costs of factories, supply chains, shipping, and physical crash testing. Internal projections showed that if Apple finally launched the car, it would have to cost at least $100,000 to break even. At that price, it would be a niche luxury item, not a mass market revolution like the iPhone. Apple would be taking on a massive liability, dealing with recalls, heavy government safety regulations, and manufacturing logistics, all for a product that would actually drag down the company's overall profit percentages. Then came the final blow, the great electric vehicle slowdown. By the mid-2020s, the initial chaotic rush for EVs began to level off. Prices were plummeting, competition from heavily subsidized manufacturers was exploding, and infrastructure was lagging. Tim Cook looked at the chessboard. Apple was spending $1 billion a year on a project with no launch date, low profit margins, and a cooling market. In February 2024, Tim Cook officially pulled the plug. But here is the secret twist, that $10 billion wasn't a waste. In the hyper-competitive tech world, nothing is truly lost if you know how to recycle it. The absolute hardest part of building a self-driving car is creating advanced machine learning models that can process massive amounts of visual data, instantly recognize objects, and predict human behavior in milliseconds. To do that, Apple had spent a decade building some of the most powerful, specialized neural engines and AI chip architectures on the planet. The moment Project Titan was canceled, Apple didn't lay off the engineers. They shifted the vast majority of those 2,000 elite AI and machine learning experts directly into Apple's core generative AI division. The complex algorithms designed to keep a car from hitting a guardrail were stripped down and rebuilt to power Apple's massive push into on-device artificial intelligence, local language models, and personal contextual computing. The Apple car died so that Apple Intelligence could live. Ultimately, Project Titan proved that even the most powerful company in the world cannot simply brute force its way into an entirely different industry. Apple didn't fail because they couldn't build a car. They stopped because they realized their true power wasn't in altering how we move through the physical world, but in controlling how we interact with the digital one. The Apple car will likely never roll down an assembly line, but its DNA is already sitting right inside your pocket. Thanks for watching, and if you want to see more deep corporate breakdowns just like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button and watch next case study. We'll see you in the next case study.